Hi there and welcome back, or welcome to my channel if this is your first time here. My name is Amy and I have an unhealthy obsession with Formula One. Now, on today's episode, we're going to be discussing the one, the only, Red Bull. So, Red Bull. This hat is definitely not staying on. I hate hats. My team, as you well know, I picked for the championship this year, and probably next year too. And I do still stand by this. However, I do predict that there might be some behind the scenes issues that we aren't necessarily seeing, and maybe some that we are. We have the teammate relationships, cost cap breaches, and wind tunnel restrictions. Of course, the second team. And looking to the future, all the junior drivers as well. To ask the question, are they catchable? Probably not this season, but maybe in a few. Let's get into it. Now let's start with perhaps the most public and obvious issue, the teammate relationship. Now this has sort of been brewing since last season. Back in 2021, I feel like Checo was more okay with being the second driver role, as it was such a close championship between Max and Lewis that he really did need to step up and be that for Max. However, even in 2022, we saw cracks start to emerge in their relationship, dating as far back as Monaco when Checo crashed during qualifying. And whilst I don't remember anything that weekend particularly boiling over into the public eye, until much later in the season, it was sure to cause some tension between the two. It was late in the 2022 season when this tension came to a peak at the Brazilian Grand Prix, when Max chose not to give his position of P6 back to Checo, saying over the radio, "I gave my reasons and I stand by it." Following the race, the team obviously released a bunch of statements saying that all was actually good, there wasn't really any issues behind the scenes, and that Max and Checo had the full support of the team and of each other going into the final few rounds. In my personal opinion, as a Max fan, this wasn't the brightest move by Max. Considering he had already won the championship, and that by letting Checo through, he might have been able to secure P2, but instead he was unable to do so, and Charles obviously came second that season. Coming into the 2023 season, and that tension is notably still there, particularly if we look at Saudi Arabia. Now, Max obviously didn't qualify well this weekend. He had issues in Q2, meaning he started P15. Checo, however, qualified on pole. King of the street circuits. Now, Max was not very happy after the race, and neither was his father, let's just say. After this, Checo sort of came out and spoke about his role as being a second driver, saying that when he sort of joined the team, that might have been his role, but now, after a few seasons, he feels like he has the full support of the team, as much as Max does, to go after a title. And whilst I don't know if that's necessarily the case, I hope it is, because they both deserve an equal chance. So yeah, we will see how this relationship progresses across the rest of the season. Do I think it is going to be a Rosberg-Hamilton or Vettel-Weber situation? No, I don't think it's going to come to that. But there is always the possibility of Perez being dropped if Max is too displeased with him as a teammate. And right now we have Daniel Ricciardo waiting in the wings. And as you know, I'm somewhat of a Ricciardo fangirl, so yeah. Next up, I want to briefly discuss the cost cap breaches as well as the wind tunnel regulations that could come to effect to the team probably more likely next season or the season after. So, as Red Bull won the championship last year, they already have a reduction in wind tunnel and CFD testing when compared to the rest of their competitors. This is sort of to even the playing field and allow teams further back on the grid to catch up with the front runners. And thanks to the cost cap breaches for the 2021 season, Red Bull receives a further reduction as a sort of a penalty. So yeah, even less than what they would normally get, which is less than everyone else. So yeah. Now, according to team boss Christian Horner, this is going to have a serious impact on the car, potentially losing up to half a second a lap to their competitors. Personally, I don't think this is likely to happen, especially over the course of one season, But looking forward to the next few years with teams like Aston Martin and Mercedes bringing upgrades and developing their cars more, particularly Aston Martin. They've impressed me this year. I don't know, we could see a title challenge for somebody like Fernando Alonso or Lewis Hamilton again, maybe as soon as next year. However, not this year. The Red Bull dominance is just a little bit too much to topple. Looking into the future, I see another potential issue for the Red Bull team, the junior drivers. And not the lack of talent, obviously, the fact that there is just too much talent. And I do think by far, out of all the F1 teams, they have the best sort of junior program available. They do have a few racing stars in F2 currently and a couple of other series that we'll get into, that they could risk losing such a talent to another team if they don't provide them with a seat in F1 soon. Especially considering they signed a non-academy driver to their second team in Nick de Vries, which sort of defeats the purpose if you ask me, but anyway, I think he still deserves a seat on the grid. So let's say hypothetically a seat opens up at the Red Bull team. Now, I don't think Nick de Vries or Yuki Tsunoda would go there for next season. Red Bull have learnt the lesson about promoting young drivers like Yuki too early, and Nick de Vries, well, we'll get into him later. In terms of junior drivers that we might be seeing in the future and the next couple of seasons, there were a few that come to mind. First off, we have Liam Lawson, the current Red Bull testing and reserve driver, currently competing in Super Formula, and he just won on debut there, so he looks very promising. In F2, we have the likes of former F3 champion Dennis Hauger, as well as people like Iwasa and Fittipaldi, who could very much make that step to F1 in a couple of years. Those four are probably the most likely to make the jump either next season or the season after, in my opinion. However, there are so many others that Red Bull has in F2, it's kind of insane to watch a race, you get very confused. And this is all if the second team is even still there. Finally, let's talk about that second team, AlphaTauri. There have been rumours for several months that AlphaTauri might be sold, following the death of Red Bull founder Dietrich Mateschitz last year. There have been several rumours that the likes of Andretti might be looking to buy the team out. However, Frank Tost, the team principal, has sort of denied these rumours and said that they are just that, rumours. While it does make sense in some regards, you don't really need a second team to advertise that clothing brand anymore when you can just slap a sticker on the main winning car, and it's probably better advertising for you than one that's running at the back of the pack. But I do generally like the idea of a junior sister team to sort of promote those young drivers who might not get a chance to compete in Formula 1 otherwise. So maybe we might be seeing a return of Toro Rosso. Yes. That all being said, the season just hasn't been it for AlphaTauri. They are currently P9 on just 1 point that was scored by Yuki Tsunoda in the chaotic Australian Grand Prix. In my opinion, I expected more of Nick de Vries, I'm not going to lie to you. But yeah, we'll see how they go for the rest of the year. I thought Nick would be a lot closer to Yuki than he is, and I understand he's had some bad luck, particularly in Australia, but he's just so far off the pace. It's weird to me, anyway. So yeah, while I don't think Red Bull is likely to be toppled this season, or next year either for that matter, as we go through this new era of Formula 1, there is potential for some teams to creep up in there and start challenging them. Hopefully soon. And I mean, hey, cracks in the armour have already started to appear, so it is only a matter of time. This all being said, I am a Red Bull fangirl, so I do genuinely want them to do well. I would just like some closer competition. That would be nice. Although we always see these periods of dominance, particularly in the sport, you had Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton, Red Bull with Sebastian Vettel, Ferrari with Michael Schumacher. I was sort of dates further and further back. So again, just a matter of time before these teams begin to catch up. And that brings this video to a wrap. Comment down below your favourite flavour of Red Bull. I'm joking, comment down below if you think Red Bull can potentially be stopped. And if you like the video, then like it and press the red button to subscribe for more F1 and motorsport related content. And I'll see you all on the next one. Laters!